Hello, hello, welcome to new gameplay today. As usual, I am your host, Wesley LeBlanc, and today I am joined by Game Informer's very own Marcus Stewart. How you doing?
I'm doing fantabulous. How are you, Wes?
Doing great. Excited to be here to hear you talk about this game, Thymesia, which you are reviewing for us, right?
I certainly am. I'm still playing the game. I have not finished it yet. What you are looking at now is the second level in the game. And Wes, let me ask you a question. Do you like Souls-likes?
I do. I like I mostly like Souls games, but I can handle a Souls like every now and then. I typically
Oh,
play like one or two a year, and then that's when I hit my limit.
okay. Well, Thymesia is a Souls-like through and through. It is an action Souls-like. You play as a plague doctor who is also a expert martial artist of some sort. Apparently, he's not just sitting behind a counter passing out prescriptions and injecting you with stuff. He's got some swords there, and he's going around fighting all these evil, diseased people.
Okay, so he's
And
just tackling the problem head on. Who
yeah,
needs medicine when
exactly.
you have a sword? Yeah.
Sometimes the best medicine is a knife to the gut.
Yeah.
But the unique hook with this game is that this plague doctor has the ability to siphon diseases from his target and
Oh,
transform them into weapons.
that's
So
cool. I like that.
yeah, so you'll see, and you saw it a little earlier, like when you knock an opponent down, you kind of get them to the brink. You can
Mhm.
do this attack with this pair of claws that he has. Oh, it's happening here. So you see, I just kind of
Ooh.
ripped that green
Yeah.
energy out of him. So I took the disease, and on the bottom right corner, you see that I've got a couple weapons. So those are like your spectral disease weapons, and you can have up to two that you slot. And
Okay.
every enemy gives you like a different type. So some of them give you like axes, some give you sides, a shield maybe. And so you're using those in conjunction with just your main arms. And the other thing about this game is that the way you even kill enemies is that you essentially have to knock their life bar down twice, because you can't
Mm.
just kill them with your normal attacks. You have to deal damage with your base sword, and then you see there he's got like a green bar by his life
Yeah.
bar, and you have to use your claw to hit him again to actually deal permanent damage, because otherwise, after a few seconds, the enemies will recover health and they'll recover
Oh,
the damage that you just took. So
interesting.
yeah, and it reminds me a bit of the first Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, where
Ooh.
you had to you could, every time you had to kill enemies, you had to use the dagger to suck them up. So it
Hmm.
became a little bit of a rhythm. This is kind of a more harsh, and I would also say maybe occasionally tedious version of that, because since you have to knock down two health bars, the fights can take it a little longer. Like, granted, some of these enemies are weak and you can upgrade your stats so you can hit harder.
Yeah.
But it's just a little bit more challenging, because like, okay, I hit this guy, hit this guy, hit this guy. I need to hit him again with my claw so I can actually deal real damage and kill him. But then maybe someone else shows up and interrupts you, and then that guy heals. So you're like, oh darn it. And the same holds true for the boss battles as well.
Oh
What
gosh.
Yeah. And I will say overall, because this is a game I was following for a while, and I was like, oh, this looks pretty interesting. And I do enjoy Souls likes and as well as action games in
Hmm.
general. But so far, I'm a little tepid on the game. I know you've played some of it too, Wes.
Yeah.
And I will say the thing that I've been a little off put by is kind of the movement and the
Hmm.
attacks. I don't think the attacks have as much weight behind them as I
Yeah,
would
that's
like.
exactly what I was feeling. Like immediately it just felt so kind of floaty. And in a Souls game, I kind of want like that precision.
Yeah, and even like, it doesn't need to be like deliberate and slower like a Souls game, but I think of something like Neo, which is probably
Yeah.
closest to this game, because Neo is a Souls like that has a big emphasis on speed, and you can see this game kind of goes for that too. But even Neo, the attacks really feel impactful. This game,
Hmm.
not so much, and you do have like a parry that you can do that is pretty okay. What I don't like about it is that it doesn't actually stagger or interrupt the attack, so you can parry somebody and then they can immediately follow up and hit you anyway, but you have a little bit of a
Hmm.
cooldown on your parry. Like, there's enough of a pause to where you kind of have to like you can dodge out of the way, but it like I don't know, for a parry, I like the idea of being able to stagger them a bit to where it interrupts them. But to
Yeah,
parry,
is there a purpose to the parry at all then, other than to just actually stop the attack?
it does damage them. But to
Okay.
me, it's like at least for what I like, it's not quite enough because it does a little bit of damage. But I like, you know, you're so used to the dance of parry to like get a little bit of an opening so you can move in and get a hit. But to parry and then they can still swing right back at you is not quite as satisfying for me.
Yeah, that kind of defeats the purpose. I feel like I would just like default to dodging, which is kind of what I do already in games.
Yeah, honestly, that's what I do mostly in this game because, you know, Corvus, who is the main character's name, he's pretty nimble and he can dodge pretty fast. You can unlock multiple dodges through that skill tree that we saw earlier. So yeah, I have primarily been defaulting to dodging because it just feels more reliable. And also sometimes the dodge timer just feels a little bit off. Like there have been plenty of times where it's like, I feel like I should have parried there. Like something about the timing, and I think it all feeds into just my general complaints about the movement and some of the animation and attack timing is just slightly, it just feels off in a way that I'm not clicking with.
Yeah, I get that. So what is the setting like? Because I mean, if it's Plague Doctor, like the setting looks cool to me, and I love the character design of the main character at least. Is there like a lot of variety, or is it kind of just this more tempered gothic look everywhere?
Unfortunately, again, I haven't finished the game, but a lot of the grunt enemies are pretty much this throughout the first like few levels or few worlds. So that's been disappointing. It's just kind of these diseased guard guys for the most part. The idea of the world, and like, you know, it goes for sort of the From Software style storytelling where like a lot of it is told through like documents and books and stuff. There's like there's like an abbey that you visit in between worlds that sort of acts like the hub world you see in a lot of From Software games, whether it's like, you know, Bloodborne or like the Round Table in Elden Ring. And there's like a little girl there that sort of is the closest thing to your companion, like guide.
Gotta have one of those, yeah.
Yeah, because the idea is that Corvus has amnesia, and so the levels that you're playing are actually presented as memories. So like everything you're doing, you're reliving your memory to get your recall back, which is why every time you die, it says memory interrupted. What it's for, I can't tell you. I'm not entirely engaged with the story, you know, to be honest. It seems like it's like an interesting setup, but it just hasn't grabbed me. And the level design I also have a complaint about because it's just, besides just the overall look, like it's pretty bland so far. It's just kind of that like template of like dark fantasy, but there's nothing that I've seen so far that is like leapt out of like, wow, what a cool thing. Like nothing has drawn my eye or made me like, or has captured my imagination quite yet. And the way even the levels are laid out, like, you know, they go for you know, they're not as big as maybe like an average From Software game. This game kind of does more of the Demon Souls thing where you're just kind of visiting levels in between. Like it's not a giant interconnected world or anything. But just the layout of them can be a little confusing to where there were times where I got lost because there's no map, of course, and that's to be expected. Yeah. But there's something about the way From Software and even other Souls-likes design their maps where even if you don't have one, it's just kind of something about the way the world's laid out. It makes sense and it's easier to make a mental note of where you are.
I feel like that's like one of the hardest challenges with the Souls-like. I mean, because with Souls games, like people, or any From Software, people think of combat first probably and then boss design, but like they have exquisite level or world design. Like you, by virtue of them, you're like subconsciously programming a map into your head of each area, just because of how well designed they are. And I feel like a lot of Souls likes kind of miss the mark on that regard. It sounds like this might be doing the same.
Yeah, like it's just not interesting. That's just really the bluntest way I can put it. It just isn't that interesting. It kind of comes off as like the starter kit From Software thing of like, well, this is the bare minimum you could kind of do if you want to be classified as one of these games, but it doesn't really do much to push the genre beyond that overall, you know? So it's like, so far, the general vibe I have of this game is like, it is a very middling one of these. If you've already played stuff like Elden Ring or even like a Neo or just something better, I don't really see this doing much for you unless you're just really craving one of these kind of games, even after finishing Elden Ring this year.
Yeah.
But because it's competent, it's not like terrible so far. It's just so far it's kind of bland. That's just the vibe I've been having with the hours I spent with it so far. There are side quests as well, like when you beat a level, you can it unlocks a series of side quests, but those are so just boilerplate that they're almost not worth doing because you just rerun the same level with an objective like, yeah, go find this document. It's sitting on a table somewhere, but otherwise you're rerunning the level as it was again, or like destroy X number of this environmental thing, or beat this one enemy. As like, it just feels tedious, especially since like running through it once, you're like, I don't think I ever want to do this again because of how flat and one note everything feels.
That's funny. The side quests were the exact same thing in Final Fantasy Origin Stranger of Paradise, but to that game's credit, the levels were inspired by Final Fantasy games, so it was a little more fun to rerun levels. I can see why doing something bland over and over would not be as fun.
Yeah, and at least, you know, this doesn't have a Jack and his team of goofballs to at least entertain you.
Of course, yeah. Best protagonist this year.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this game. It's just like, okay, it's there a bit. It's got some ideas. I think the siphoning diseases into weapons is a really unique idea. But other than that, it's just a very middling Souls-like action game, at least so far. Like I said, I have not finished it. You know, I'm trying to get my review out as fast as I can. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I will say I'm a little bummed out with it because this was one of those games that, you know, not a lot of people are talking about, but I kind of kept an eye on because I was like, there's a cool idea here. Let's see how this turns out.
How are the boss fights? Are they kind of the same line of thinking with the rest of the game, or are they doing something a little more interesting?
No, the first boss is pretty challenging, but it's not. I couldn't tell you really anything remarkable about it. It's just kind of like a one-on-one kind of chess match against like another humanoid guy. He doesn't really do anything that remarkable, honestly, that I can think of. Are like, whoa. The second boss was a nightmare because, so I mentioned before about having to basically, you have to drop 2 health bars to kill someone. So you have to do that with this second boss, but also this boss has the ability to regenerate health too. Good. Which I thought was like an interesting choice of like, why does he need that when everyone can kind of do that by default? So that fight just felt like tedious because you're trying to hack away its white health, then hack away to green health so that it stays, and then it would just refill both like regularly throughout the fight. So you pretty much just had to stay on him. And other than that, like a lot of fights, or at least that fight in particular, didn't require like that much strategy outside of just dodging and not getting hit. So you just have to hack away and then let it heal up because there's no way to interrupt the heal. It's going to happen. So you just got to try to like outpace it basically with your damage output. So yeah, but yeah, none of the fights have really landed for me so far.
Dang. Well, you know, maybe something will change in the rest of your journey with this game. But yeah, from what I played and from what I'm looking at here, it does kind of seem like you mentioned, like just another one of those. Which there are, you know, plenty of fans out there. I'm sure this is going to have its own little community, but yeah, I'm not sure this one's for me.
Yeah, this is in a post Elden Ring 2022, this is maybe not the best time to only be just another one of those.
Yeah, but, tough year to release a Souls-like.
Exactly, but we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the game shakes out. I hope it gets better and more interesting. And yeah, but so far, if you're a fan of these games, maybe read some reviews before picking this up.
Yeah, and speaking of reviews, like you've mentioned, you haven't quite finished the game yet, but your review will be on GameInformer.com sooner than later, I imagine, so be sure to check out Marcus's full thoughts there. If you're interested in Thymesia, it's coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, Switch, and PC. Overborder Studio is the developer. It's being published by Team 17, and the game hits console and PC on August 18th. All right, well, I think that's going to do us for today. Thank you so much for joining me today, Marcus, and sharing your thoughts on Thymesia.
Yeah, absolutely. And, thanks for having me on. I know you don't invite people to your show lightly. It's a very exclusive of Gig, from what I've been told. So I'm glad
Most
that you.
exclusive. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I hope to do it again. Let's pencil in another time for this.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Bye now.